The first time I tried to speak English, I was only 10 years old. My English teacher stood in front of the class and smiled. She said, "Who wants to introduce themselves in English?" I didn't want to raise my hand, but my best friend pushed my arm up. Suddenly, I became the first volunteer. I walked slowly to the front of the classroom. My heart was beating so fast. I could feel all my classmates watching me. Some looked bored, some were smiling, and a few were whispering. My teacher nodded and said, "Go ahead, you can do it." I opened my mouth to speak. I took a deep breath and tried to remember the words I practiced the night before. My name is, I forgot what to say next. My cheeks turned red. I heard someone giggle in the back of the class. I wanted to run away, but my teacher gave me an encouraging smile. Then I quickly said, "My name is Dina. I am 10 years old. I like cat." I wanted to say, "I like cats," but I made a small mistake. The class started to laugh. I laughed too, but inside I felt a little sad and embarrassed. I thought, why is this so difficult for me? After that day, I became afraid to speak English. Every time the teacher asked a question, I looked down and hoped she would not pick me. I thought English was too hard for me. Sometimes I wanted to try again, but I was too nervous and scared to make mistakes. But something inside me also felt curious. I wondered why so many people around the world spoke English. I started to notice that many famous movies, songs, and even games used English. My favorite cartoon also spoke in English, and sometimes I did not understand what they said. I asked my older brother, "Why do we have to learn English?" He said, "Because English is the most used language in the world. If you speak English, you can talk to people from other countries." I began to imagine traveling and making friends from faraway places. That night, I watched a movie without subtitles. It was very hard to understand, but I caught some words like hello, friend, and thank you. I repeated those words out loud. It felt exciting, like learning a secret code. I wanted to learn more and more. At school, my English teacher shared an interesting fact. She said, "Do you know that there are more than 1.5 billion people trying to learn English in the world? In India, Korea, and Brazil, millions of students also feel nervous, just like you." I was surprised and felt less alone. Knowing that I was not the only one struggling made me feel better. I started to see that learning English was a big journey for many people. Even in different countries, kids like me felt scared to speak, worried about grammar, and made funny mistakes sometimes. I realized that my story was not so special. Many people had similar stories about learning English. Some were funny, some were sad, and some were full of hope. This made me want to continue my journey, even if I was not perfect yet. I wanted to try again and again. So I began to set a small goal for myself. I promised that I would say at least one sentence in English every day, even if I made mistakes. My dream was to be able to speak English without feeling shy or afraid. Maybe one day I could watch movies and understand every word. Sometimes I felt tired and wanted to give up, but then I remembered my dream. I wanted to travel, make new friends, and find more opportunities in life. I told myself, learning English is difficult, but it is also an adventure. I can do this, step by step. Now let me ask you a question. Have you ever felt scared or embarrassed when learning a new language? Maybe you also made mistakes or forgot what to say. If you have, you are not alone. Many people around the world feel the same way as you and me. Let's remember that learning something new is never easy, but it can be fun if we try together. What is your most embarrassing or funny moment when learning English or another language? Share your story with me. Who knows? Maybe your story can inspire someone else too. The journey to learn English is just beginning, but I believe we can reach our dreams if we keep trying. Millions of people are on the same journey. Together, we can laugh, learn, and grow. Are you ready to join me in this adventure? Let's continue the story. My real journey with English started in junior high school. On the first day, our new English teacher entered the classroom with a big smile. She brought a colorful bag and many English books. She said, "Welcome everyone, let's learn English together." I felt excited but also nervous. The classroom was full of different feelings. Some of my classmates looked confident. A few even tried to say, "Good morning, miss," in English. Others, like me, only smiled and nodded. I could hear some students whisper, "English is hard. I hope I don't have to talk today." Our teacher loved to play games with us. She made us play a game called Hot Potato. If you got the ball, you had to answer a question in English. When the ball came to me, my mind went blank. I held the ball and said, "My name is Dina." The teacher clapped and said, "Good try." In every lesson, we learn new words. The teacher wrote them on the board: apple, banana, orange, school, table. She asked us to repeat after her. Sometimes I was too shy to speak loudly. I was afraid that my pronunciation was wrong and my friends would laugh at me. I remember the first time we learned about grammar. The teacher explained the simple present tense. She wrote, "I eat rice." "She eats rice." I felt confused. Why did we add s for she? My friends also looked puzzled. We tried to ask, but sometimes we didn't understand the answer. At home, I tried to do my homework by myself. I asked my brother for help, but he was busy with his own studies. So I searched for answers in my old textbooks. Sometimes I got it right, but often I made small mistakes. I felt a little sad and wondered, why is English so tricky? One day, our teacher gave us a group project. We had to make a poster about our favorite animal and write 5 sentences in English. I was happy to work with my friends, but I was also afraid of making mistakes. We chose the cat as our animal. I wrote, "Cat is cute. Cat like fish." My friend corrected me. "It's cats like fish, not cat like fish." I felt embarrassed, but I thanked her. That was the first time I realized it was okay to make mistakes if I wanted to improve. Working in a group helped me feel less alone in my struggle. Sometimes, our teacher asked us to watch English movies without subtitles. The first time, I was lost. I couldn't understand most of the words. I only caught a few like hello, goodbye, and school. Still, I tried to listen carefully and write down new words I heard. My biggest problem was speaking. I worried about my accent. I was afraid that my voice sounded strange or funny. I also worried about grammar. Should I say go or goes? Should I use did or do? These small things made me feel unsure every time I wanted to talk. There were times when I just stayed quiet. If the teacher asked a question, I looked at my desk or tried to hide behind my book. Sometimes she still picked me. My face turned red, but I tried my best. The teacher always smiled and said, "Mistakes are okay. That's how we learn." At home, my family supported me. My mother said, "Don't worry if you make mistakes, just try your best." She told me stories about how hard it was for her to learn a new language when she was young. Her words made me feel braver to keep learning. Some days, I practiced English in front of the mirror. I pretended to talk to my favorite movie character. I said, "Hello, how are you?" and answered, "I'm fine, thank you." It was funny, but it helped me get used to hearing my own voice in English. Our English teacher often told us stories about people from other countries. She said, "In Korea, students also struggle with English pronunciation. In India, many people speak English, but they still feel shy to speak with foreigners." I realized I was not alone in my struggle. Slowly, I began to enjoy English class. Sometimes I could answer questions and my friends clapped for me. I was still nervous, but I tried to join more games and group work. I liked learning new words, even if I sometimes forgot them the next day. One thing I learned was that English was not just a school subject. It was a way to open new doors. My teacher said, if you speak English, you can learn from books, videos, and people from all over the world. I started to dream bigger. Maybe I could use English for work or travel one day. There were still many challenges. I sometimes failed quizzes or forgot how to spell words. My friends and I laughed at our silly mistakes. The classroom became a place to learn and make memories. Even when I felt confused, I knew I was making progress. When I saw movies or listened to English songs, I tried to understand the meaning. I would write down lyrics and look for translations. Sometimes the words sounded strange, but I liked singing along. Music made learning English more fun and exciting for me. Over time, I learned to be patient with myself. Some days I felt like giving up, but I remembered that everyone learns at their own speed. My teacher's words helped me. It's okay to be slow. The most important thing is not to stop. I kept these words in my heart. Learning English was not always easy. There were days when I wanted to cry because I couldn't understand a lesson. But I also had days when I felt proud because I answered a question or learned a new word. I learned that ups and downs are part of every journey. Now, when I look back, I feel grateful for every lesson and mistake. They helped me grow stronger. My classmates, teacher, and family all supported me. I learned to enjoy the process, not just the result. My struggle was real, but so was my progress. Even though I started to enjoy English classes, I soon realized that the real challenges were just beginning. Pronunciation was one of my biggest problems. Many English words did not sound like how they were written. For example, I said island as is land and everyone laughed, including me. The teacher corrected me. It's island, not island. I felt so embarrassed, but I learned a valuable lesson. English pronunciation is very different from my own language. Words like though, through, and thought confused me every time I tried to read them out loud. Grammar was another big challenge. I often got confused between he goes and he go, or I did and I do. I made mistakes in almost every sentence. Sometimes my teacher corrected me gently, but sometimes I felt frustrated because I made the same mistakes again and again. Vocabulary was also difficult. I wanted to speak about many topics, but I did not know enough words. I tried to remember new words every day, but it was easy to forget them. Sometimes I would study a list of words at night, but the next morning they were gone from my memory. The fear of making mistakes was always there. I worried that my friends would laugh at my accent or grammar. I was afraid to speak in front of the class, especially if the topic was hard or I had to use new words. My hands would sweat and my heart would beat fast. Once, during a speaking test, I had to talk about my family. I said, my father is a doctor, my mother is a teacher. My sister liked to dance. The teacher stopped me and asked, do you mean likes to dance? I nodded and felt my face turn red. I wished I could disappear. After class, some friends teased me about my mistakes. It made me sad, but I tried not to show it. I told myself, everyone makes mistakes when learning a new language. If I never try, I will never improve. Still, the fear of being laughed at was hard to ignore. One day, we had to read a short story out loud. I read slowly, trying to pronounce every word correctly. I stumbled over the word night and said it as key night. The teacher smiled and said, it's just night. The K is silent. Everyone laughed kindly, and I laughed too. My teacher often told us stories about students from other countries. She said, in India, many students find English grammar very confusing, just like you. In Korea, students have trouble with pronunciation, especially with R and L sounds. I was surprised that these problems were not only mine. Some of my classmates shared stories about their cousins in other countries. One friend said, my cousin in Vietnam is also learning English. She said she always forgets which tense to use. Another friend said, "My aunt in Canada speaks English every day, but she sometimes mixes up words too." These stories made me feel better. I realized that people everywhere have their own struggles with English. Even people who speak English every day can make mistakes or feel nervous. Learning a language is difficult for everyone, not just for me or my classmates. Still, the road was not easy. I often felt stuck. Sometimes I understood a lesson in class, but when I got home, I forgot how to use the new words or grammar. I felt frustrated and wondered if I would ever be able to speak English well. Some nights I wanted to give up. One time, my teacher gave us a writing assignment. We had to write about our dreams for the future. I wanted to write a long, interesting story, but I only managed a few simple sentences. I felt disappointed. My teacher wrote, "Good effort. Don't worry about mistakes. Keep trying." I kept making mistakes with a and an. I would write a apple instead of an apple. Even after so many lessons, these small rules were hard to remember. My teacher said, "It's okay. Even native speakers sometimes make these mistakes. The important thing is to keep practicing." Listening was also hard for me. When I watched English movies or listened to songs, the words sounded too fast. I tried to follow along, but I missed many words and got confused. Sometimes I felt like I understood nothing at all and wanted to stop watching. I learned that learning English was not only about studying books, it was about practice and patience. I needed to be brave and speak, even when I was not sure. I needed to listen and try to understand, even when it was difficult. Every mistake was a lesson for me. There were also funny moments in my journey. One day, I tried to tell my teacher, "I am bored," but I said, "I am boring." My teacher laughed and explained the difference. I laughed too, but I was also a little embarrassed. Moments like this taught me that learning can be fun. Sometimes, I watched videos online about people from other countries learning English. A girl from India shared how she was scared to speak because of her accent. A boy from Korea said he practiced English by talking to himself in the mirror. Their stories made me feel connected to them. I also read comments online from learners in Vietnam and Canada. One person said, "Learning English is like climbing a mountain. Sometimes you slip, but you just have to keep going." Another said, "Don't be afraid of making mistakes. That's how you get better." After hearing all these stories, I started to believe that I could improve too. I tried to be more patient with myself. I learned that making mistakes is not the end of the world. What matters is that I keep learning and never give up. My struggles with pronunciation, grammar, vocabulary, and fear were real, but I was not alone. People from different countries, backgrounds, and ages were on the same journey. We were all trying, failing, laughing, and learning together. That gave me hope to keep moving forward. There was a time when I almost gave up on learning English. The challenges started to feel too much for me. One day, after getting a low score on my English test, I sat alone in my room and stared at my notebook. I felt so disappointed and tired. My friends seemed to learn faster than me. They could speak and answer questions easily, while I still struggled to make simple sentences. I felt left behind. I asked myself, why am I so slow? Why do I make so many mistakes even after studying hard? Sometimes I thought, maybe English is just not for me. I remembered my embarrassing moments in class and the times I forgot the right words. It felt like no matter how hard I tried, my progress was too slow. My confidence dropped and I stopped practicing as much. I began to avoid speaking in English. When the teacher called on me, I answered with the shortest words possible. I did my homework quickly, just to finish it, not to really learn. I started to think that I would never be able to speak English fluently. One evening, I heard my classmates planning a group study. I wanted to join, but I was afraid they would think I was not good enough. I stayed quiet and pretended not to care. Deep inside, I felt lonely. I missed the feeling of enjoying English class and learning new things. My family noticed that I was sad and less excited about school. My mother asked, "Is everything okay?" I told her, "I don't think I can learn English. It's too hard for me." She hugged me and said, "Everyone has problems when learning something new. Don't be too hard on yourself." Her words gave me a little comfort, but I still doubted myself. I remembered my teacher once said, "Learning a language takes time. Even small progress is important." I wanted to believe her, but at that moment, it was difficult. I just wanted to stop trying. The next week, we had another speaking test. I practiced my sentences at home, but in class, I forgot almost everything. My mind went blank. My teacher looked at me with kind eyes and said, "It's okay, just try." I tried to speak, but my voice was very quiet. After class, I sat alone. I felt like a failure. Some friends tried to cheer me up, but their words did not help. I thought about quitting. Maybe if I stopped learning English, I would not feel this stress and disappointment anymore. But then, something small changed my mind. My younger sister came to me with her homework. She needed help with English. She said, "Can you teach me how to say I am happy in English?" I smiled a little and helped her. She listened carefully and repeated after me. In that moment, I realized that even if I was not perfect, I still knew more than someone just starting. Teaching my sister made me feel useful and a bit proud. It reminded me that learning is not just about big achievements, but also about helping others and sharing knowledge. A few days later, my best friend sent me a funny English meme. She wrote, "I laughed because I remembered you making this mistake last year. I laughed too." It made me remember that making mistakes is a normal part of learning. Sometimes, mistakes can even become happy memories. Slowly, I started to practice again, but it was not easy. There were still days when I felt hopeless. I asked my brother, "How do you keep going when something is hard?" He said, "You don't have to be the best, just don't stop. Try a little every day." His words made me think. I realized I had been comparing myself too much to others. Maybe I should focus on my own progress, not just the results. I decided to start with small steps again, even if it was just learning one new word each day. One evening, I wrote in my notebook, "I will not give up." I set small goals for myself. For example, I would read a short story in English every week or listen to one English song and write down the words I understood. These little goals made learning feel possible again. I remembered that my teacher always said, "Celebrate your progress, no matter how small." So, every time I understood a new word or could say a sentence better than before, I smiled and wrote it down. Seeing my little successes helped me stay motivated. Some of my classmates noticed I was trying again. They cheered me on and even asked me to join their group study. I felt welcome and not so alone anymore. Studying with friends made it easier and more fun. We could laugh at our mistakes and learn together. My family kept supporting me. My mother often said, "Don't worry about being perfect. Just do your best." My father encouraged me to watch English news with him. Even though I did not understand everything, I felt happy when I recognized some words and phrases. The feeling of wanting to give up still came sometimes, but I learned how to fight it. Whenever I felt down, I remembered why I started. I wanted to travel, make new friends, and understand movies and songs. These dreams kept me moving forward. Looking back, I am glad I did not quit. The hard times taught me to be strong and patient. My journey was far from perfect, but every mistake and failure was a lesson. I learned that it's okay to struggle. What matters is to keep going, step by step. One day, something happened that changed my view about learning English. Our teacher gave us a special project. We had to make a short video introducing ourselves in English. She said, "Don't worry about mistakes. Just have fun and try your best. At first, I was very nervous and almost wanted to quit. I did not know how to start. I felt scared, thinking my classmates would laugh if I said something wrong. I remembered all my mistakes from before. But this time, instead of thinking about failing, I decided to ask for help. I called my best friend and we worked on the project together. We wrote our scripts and practiced many times. We took turns filming each other. Sometimes we made silly faces or forgot our lines and we laughed together. Working with my friend made everything feel easier and more fun. I realized learning did not have to be serious all the time. When I watched the video we made, I was surprised. Even though my English was not perfect, I could see how much I had improved since I first started. I made fewer mistakes and could speak more confidently. For the first time, I felt proud of myself and my progress. This project was a turning point for me. I began to see English as something I could really learn, not just something scary. I started to enjoy speaking and practicing, especially when I did it with friends. I learned that mistakes were just part of the journey. After that, I wanted to find more ways to practice English outside the classroom. I searched online for easy English videos and found some with subtitles. I tried repeating after the speakers and noticed that my pronunciation got better. It was fun to sound more like a native speaker. I also found some English songs that I liked. I listened to them again and again. At first, I only understood a few words, but I wrote them down and checked their meanings. Slowly, I could sing along and understand more of the lyrics. Singing made learning new words enjoyable. One day, I discovered a language app on my phone. It had games and daily challenges. Every morning, I played the games and learned a few new words. It only took 10 minutes, but it made me more confident each day. I liked collecting points and seeing my progress on the app. I noticed that practicing a little bit every day was better than trying to study for hours at once. When I made learning fun, it felt easier and I did not get tired quickly. I told my friends about the app and we started to challenge each other to get the highest score. My teacher also suggested that we start a small English club after school. Every week we met to talk about different topics in English. Sometimes we played games, sometimes we discussed movies or our hobbies. The club felt like a safe place to practice and make mistakes without fear. In the club, everyone encouraged each other. When someone made a mistake, we laughed together and learned from it. I saw that my friends were also making progress, and I was happy to be part of a group that supported each other. I learned that learning together made everything better. During this time, I found a video of a person from another country talking about his struggle to learn English. He said, "Don't give up. Try different ways to practice and find what works for you." His story inspired me. I realized that everyone has their own way of learning. Inspired by his words, I tried more things. Sometimes I wrote short stories in English and shared them with my teacher. She always gave kind feedback and helped me improve. I felt good when I saw my writing getting better. Even small progress made me want to keep going. I also started to chat with people online. I joined a group where learners from different countries shared stories in English. At first, I was nervous, but everyone was friendly and patient. We helped each other correct mistakes and gave tips for learning faster. From this experience, I learned some small tips that really helped me. For example, I made flashcards for new words and stuck them on my wall. I also recorded myself reading stories and listened to my voice. Sometimes I watched cartoons for kids because the language was simple and easy to understand. Another thing that helped was keeping a diary in English. Every night, I wrote a few sentences about my day. Some days I only wrote 2 or 3 sentences, but I tried to use new words and grammar I learned in class. Over time, my sentences became longer and better. I realized that every person has their own way to learn best. What worked for my friend was not always the best for me. The most important thing was to keep trying different methods until I found what made learning fun and effective for me. This turning point made me more motivated. I wanted to learn more and more. My fear of speaking started to disappear. I was not afraid to make mistakes because I knew each mistake was a step closer to getting better. I felt happier and more confident in my English journey. Looking back, I am grateful for the small project that changed everything for me. It showed me that English could be fun and that progress is possible for everyone. The support from my friends, teacher, and family made a big difference. I realized that learning is easier when you are not alone. If you ever feel stuck or ready to give up, remember my story. Sometimes, a small change or new method can help you find your motivation again. Keep looking for new ways to practice and don't be afraid to try something different. You never know what will work for you. After my turning point, I wanted to find the most effective ways to learn English. I tried many methods, but not all of them worked for me. I discovered that learning was easier when I enjoyed the process and did not force myself to study for hours. I wanted to share some of my favorite ways to learn. One of the best methods for me was watching movies and cartoons in English. At first, I used subtitles in my own language. Later, I tried watching with English subtitles. I paused the movie when I heard a new word and wrote it down. This helped me improve my listening and vocabulary at the same time. Sometimes I watched the same movie several times. The first time, I focused on the story. The second time, I listened carefully to the words and sentences. I started to understand more each time I watched. It was exciting when I finally understood a joke or a funny line without reading the subtitles. Another method I liked was singing karaoke in English. I searched for English songs I liked and sang along with the lyrics on the screen. Singing helped me practice pronunciation and learn new words. Even when I sang badly, it made me laugh and feel more confident with English sounds. I also found it helpful to play games in English. Some games used simple instructions, so it was easy to follow. Other games let me chat with players from other countries. I practiced writing and reading English while having fun. I even made a few friends from different places through online games. Sometimes I joined online communities and language groups. I looked for websites where people wanted to practice English together. In these groups, I could ask questions, share my experiences, and help others. It felt good to learn together and see that many people were trying their best. Using language learning apps was another fun way to practice. The apps had daily challenges, vocabulary games, and speaking exercises. I set a small goal to use the app for 10 minutes every day. This helped me build a good habit and made learning part of my daily routine. Speaking with real people was the best way to improve. I tried to practice English with my classmates and teacher. Sometimes, I even tried talking to myself in the mirror. I asked simple questions and answered them. At first, it felt strange, but it really helped me become more confident. In my English club, we played games like 20 questions, charades, and word association. These games made learning fun and less scary. We laughed a lot and learned from each other's mistakes. I realized that making mistakes was a normal part of learning. Reading short stories and books in English helped too. I chose books for children or beginners because the language was simple. I read 1 or 2 pages every night before bed. If I found a new word, I wrote it down in my notebook and looked it up later. Writing was also important. I started by writing a diary in English. I wrote about my day, my feelings, and my dreams. Some days I only wrote a few sentences, but over time, my writing became better. My teacher checked my diary and gave me tips to improve my grammar and vocabulary. Another method that helped was listening to English podcasts for beginners. I listened while walking to school or doing chores at home. Even if I did not understand everything, I could catch some words and phrases. This helped my ears get used to English sounds. I found that repetition was important. When I learned a new word, I used it in a sentence 3 times. I repeated it out loud and wrote it down in my notebook. I also used flashcards to test myself every week. The more I practiced, the easier it became to remember new words. I also tried shadowing. This means listening to someone speak English and repeating exactly what they say as quickly as possible. I did this with short videos and songs. It was hard at first, but it really helped my pronunciation and speaking speed. Learning with friends made everything better. We helped each other with homework, practiced speaking, and shared funny stories about our mistakes. Sometimes we created small challenges, like who can learn 10 new words today, or who can speak for 5 minutes without stopping. My family supported me too. My brother sometimes quizzed me on vocabulary. My parents encouraged me to speak English at home, even if it was just saying good morning or thank you. Their support made me feel less alone in my journey. I also learned to use technology to help me. I watched English tutorials on YouTube, joined language forums, and followed English learning accounts on social media. There were many free resources online that made learning more interesting and interactive. If you are learning English, I suggest you try different methods to see what works for you. Maybe you like music, movies, games, or writing. Find something that makes you happy and use it as a way to practice English every day. Learning is easier when it feels like play, not work. What about you? Do you have your own favorite ways to learn English? Share your methods in the comments below. Maybe your ideas can help others who are also struggling. Remember, there is no perfect way to learn a language. The best method is the one that keeps you motivated. The journey to learn English is different for everyone. What works for me might not work for you, and that's okay. The most important thing is to keep going, try new things, and never be afraid to make mistakes. Every small step is progress. As I kept practicing English with new methods, I began to notice my progress. One day in class, the teacher asked a question, and without thinking too much, I raised my hand and answered in English. My answer was not perfect, but my teacher smiled and said, "Good job." I felt proud of myself. It was a small step, but it made a big difference. After that, I tried to answer more questions. Sometimes my friends clapped for me, and I could see my confidence growing. Even when I made mistakes, I did not feel as embarrassed as before. I started to enjoy speaking in front of others. One time, during a group activity, my team had to make a short presentation in English. I practiced my lines with my friends and even helped one of them who was feeling shy. When we finished, our teacher said, "You all did great." I realized that I was not just learning, but also helping others. My teacher noticed my progress and gave me more chances to speak. She asked me to lead small groups or explain things to classmates who were struggling. These experiences taught me that I could be a leader, even if I was not perfect in English. Helping others helped me learn too. There were still many small failures and funny moments along the way. Once I wanted to say, "I am full," after eating lunch, but I accidentally said, "I am full." My friends laughed, and I laughed too. It became a joke for the rest of the day, but it did not make me feel bad. Another time, I tried to say, "I have a headache," but I said, "I have a headache." Everyone in the class burst out laughing, including the teacher. Instead of feeling ashamed, I laughed and repeated the right sentence. These blooper moments made learning less scary and more fun. Even with my progress, I sometimes felt stuck. There were days when I could not remember new words or when grammar rules just seemed too confusing. I sometimes failed quizzes or forgot what I had practiced. I learned that progress was not always a straight line. When I made mistakes, I reminded myself that even small steps were important. Every new word I learned, every sentence I spoke, and every funny mistake I made brought me closer to my goal. I learned to be patient with myself and to keep trying no matter what. Some of my friends also shared their stories. One friend said she mixed up she and he all the time. Another friend often said yesterday when she meant tomorrow. We laughed together and tried to help each other remember. It felt good to know that everyone had their own struggles. There were days when I felt very tired and thought I was not making any progress. On those days, I read my old diary entries and realized how much I had improved. My sentences were longer, and my words were more accurate. Looking back helped me see that small steps really matter. My teacher encouraged us to celebrate our progress, no matter how small. She brought stickers and gave them to us when we tried our best. Even a small sticker felt like a big reward. It made me want to keep learning and do even better next time. I also learned that learning English was not just about passing tests or getting good grades. It was about being able to communicate, share stories, and understand the world. When I could talk to a new friend or understand a song, it felt like a real success. One of the best moments was when my family praised me for helping my little sister with her English homework. She was so happy and told everyone, "My sister is very good at English." I felt proud and motivated to keep practicing and getting better every day. Even though I still made mistakes, I started to feel more comfortable. I learned to accept that nobody is perfect. Every person who learns a new language makes silly mistakes. The important thing is to laugh, learn, and never give up. Mistakes are just part of the journey. Sometimes I made my own blooper moments videos with my friends. We recorded ourselves speaking English and then watched the funny parts together. We laughed at our mistakes, but we also saw how much we had improved. It made us feel happy and confident. These moments of progress and failure taught me important lessons. I learned that it is okay to fail as long as I keep trying. I learned that asking for help is not a weakness, but a smart way to learn. And I learned that every small victory deserves to be celebrated. If you are learning English or any other language, remember to be kind to yourself. Progress is not always fast or easy, but every effort counts. Laugh at your mistakes, enjoy the process, and keep going. You will be surprised by how much you can achieve over time. As I continued my journey to learn English, I became more curious about how people in other countries learned it. I watched videos, read comments online, and even chatted with new friends from around the world. I was surprised to find that learners everywhere had their own struggles and creative ways to practice English. I found a video from a student in India. She shared that she practiced speaking English every morning by reading the news out loud. At first, her family laughed at her mistakes, but she did not give up. She said, "Making mistakes is normal. Practice every day, even if it's just 5 minutes." Her story inspired me to try reading aloud, too. It helped my pronunciation and made me more confident. I learned that practice does not have to be perfect to be useful. Even small efforts every day can help us grow, just like the student in India. Another story came from a boy in Korea. He said he practiced English with his friends by playing games online. They set a rule to use only English during the game. Sometimes they laughed at their funny grammar or pronunciation, but they learned new words and phrases together. I decided to try this with my own friends. We played games and tried to use only English for an hour. It was hard at first, but we had a lot of fun. We made many mistakes, but we also learned many new expressions. It made learning English feel like an adventure. I also met someone from Vietnam in an online group. She shared that she joined a club where people from different countries practiced English together. They took turns sharing stories about their daily lives, dreams, and cultures. She said, "Speaking with people from other places helps you learn faster and understand more." Her story made me want to join more online groups and talk with people from other countries. I realized that learning a language is not just about grammar and vocabulary. It's about sharing experiences, learning from others, and making new friends along the way. In one online forum, I found a comment from a man in Canada. He wrote, "Even though English is my first language, I sometimes make mistakes too. Don't be afraid to speak. Most people are happy to help if you try." His words made me feel less nervous about making mistakes. I learned that people from all over the world are on the same journey. Some have been learning English for years, while others are just starting. Some learn through books, some through music, and some by traveling or working with people from different countries. One thing I noticed is that everyone has their own style. Some learners in India like to watch movies with subtitles and repeat lines from the actors. Many Korean students use language exchange apps to find speaking partners from other countries. Vietnamese learners often join study groups or watch YouTube lessons together. I tried to combine these ideas in my own study routine. I watched movies, joined online groups, and practiced with friends. I also looked for new tips and tricks in videos and blogs. The more methods I tried, the easier it became to find what worked best for me. Learning about other people's experiences made me feel more connected to the world. It showed me that learning English can open doors to many new friendships and opportunities. I also realized that every learner, no matter where they are from, faces ups and downs on their journey. Sometimes I shared my own tips in online groups. I told others how singing karaoke, using apps, and writing a diary helped me. In return, I received new advice like watching children's cartoons or reading comic books in English. I was happy to be part of a community where we helped each other. These global friendships made learning English much more meaningful. I no longer felt alone or shy. When I made mistakes, my new friends laughed with me and helped me get better. When I succeeded, they cheered for me. Their support made my journey brighter and more fun. My teacher sometimes read us messages from learners in other countries. She said, "In Vietnam, students share funny videos of themselves practicing English. In Korea, students help each other by correcting grammar online. In Canada, people read English books to young children to practice together." Hearing these stories made me realize that the struggle to learn English is universal. Everyone feels nervous, everyone makes mistakes, and everyone can learn from others. No matter where we come from, we all share the same hope to be understood and to understand others. I am grateful for the inspiration and tips I got from learners in other countries. Their stories taught me to keep trying and to enjoy the process. Now I feel more excited to learn and share with others. The journey feels less lonely when we help each other. If you are learning English, try to connect with people from other countries. Share your story, ask for tips, and learn together. You never know how much you can help or inspire someone else just by sharing your experiences. The world is full of learners just like you. Looking back on my journey, I can see that learning English has been a long and sometimes difficult process. There were times when I wanted to give up and times when I felt proud of my small successes. I learned that progress is not always fast, but every step is important. I remember the first day I spoke in front of my class, feeling nervous and embarrassed. Now, I can speak English with more confidence. I still make mistakes, but I am not afraid to try. Every mistake is a chance to learn, and every small victory brings me closer to my goal. One of the most important lessons I learned is that learning a language is not about being perfect. It is about communicating, sharing, and understanding others. Sometimes I speak slowly or forget a word, but the most important thing is that I keep going and never give up. I realize that everyone learns at their own pace. Some people learn quickly while others need more time. That's okay. The journey is different for everyone. The key is to be patient with yourself, celebrate your progress, and keep moving forward even when it is hard. I also learned the power of community. Studying with friends, joining clubs, and talking with people from other countries made learning much easier and more fun. When we help each other, the journey does not feel so lonely. We can laugh together, share our stories, and celebrate every success. Now, I want to share 3 practical tips for anyone learning English or another language. First, practice a little every day. You do not need to study for hours. Just spend 10 or 15 minutes reading, listening, speaking, or writing in English. Small, daily practice is better than long study sessions once a week. Second, do not be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes are a natural part of learning. Laugh at them, learn from them, and keep going. Remember, even native speakers make mistakes sometimes. The important thing is to keep trying and not let fear stop you. Third, use methods that you enjoy. If you love music, listen to English songs and sing along. If you like movies, watch them with English subtitles. If you enjoy writing, keep a diary or write short stories in English. Learning is easier when it feels fun. Remember, your journey is your own. Do not compare yourself too much to others. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small. Every new word you learn, every sentence you speak, and every friend you make in English is a big achievement. If you ever feel tired or want to give up, remember why you started. Maybe you want to travel, make new friends, get a good job, or just understand your favorite movies. Hold on to your dreams and let them keep you motivated when things get tough. Do not be afraid to ask for help. Join a group, find a study partner, or share your struggles with someone you trust. Learning together is always better than learning alone. And if you see someone else struggling, offer your support. We all need encouragement sometimes. Finally, do not forget to enjoy the journey. Learning a new language is not only about tests and exams. It is about discovering new worlds, ideas, and cultures. Every step you take brings you closer to new opportunities and exciting experiences. Now, I want to invite you to share your own story. Have you ever struggled with learning English or another language? What funny or embarrassing moments did you have? What tips helped you the most? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might inspire someone who feels like giving up. Remember, you are not alone. Millions of people around the world are on the same journey. We can all learn from each other, laugh together, and celebrate every little victory along the way. Thank you for following my story. I hope it has given you hope, motivation, and new ideas to make your own journey easier and more enjoyable. Remember, learning English is not about being perfect. It is about being brave, curious, and willing to try. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more about learning, motivation, and real-life experiences, don't forget to subscribe or follow. There are many more stories to come, and I would love for you to be part of this community. Let's keep learning, sharing, and growing together. No matter how difficult the road may seem, you are stronger than you think. The adventure of learning English is waiting for you, step by step, day by day. Are you ready to keep going? Let's continue this journey one word at a time. Remember, every effort counts, and every mistake is a step closer to success. Good luck, and never stop believing in yourself.